Quite a bit about this standoff with armed protesters in Oregon. Over the weekend, this started to become very big news. What we've got here, a group of armed men who have taken over several federal buildings in eastern Oregon. They say they're going to be there for as long as it takes. The group took over the buildings on Saturday in protest of a federal judge's ruling that sent two local ranchers from there in Oregon back to prison after they had already been in prison apparently for an arson.
Sure, there are a lot of viewpoints, a lot to look into on this. But one of the things is some of the schools in this rural Harney County, Oregon will be closed this week as a precaution surrounding this situation. Wanda Moore has some more details for you.
And that's the thing we want to point out is that there's no vandalism. We want to leave this place the way we found it, back to the county and to the state, but not to the feds.
The militia groups led by Ammon Bundy took over the buildings Saturday after a rally for local ranchers Dwight and Stephen Hammond ended peacefully.
But it's really not about him. It's about the Constitution and the violations of the Constitution.
Occupiers say they're here to give ranchers back their land from the federal government.
Once those deeds and titles are restored to the people of the state and of the county, then, man, I want to go home.
For Roger Wilson, who grew up on the ranch near the headquarters in Harney County,
I mean, there were just a lot of cattle. Everybody was doing good back then.
The government's mismanagement of the land is a problem. Not everybody in the community agrees with the militia, but for Wilson,
someone's got to do something.
It was quiet around the refuge headquarters buildings.
They're inside staying warm.
Leaders were vague on how many people were a part of their group, but said they had more people come and join their cause since the occupation started.
I think they said it best back in World War II. I think there's a gun behind every blade of grass.
When asked what they're willing to do to support their cause, they said they were not here to cause trouble.
I like to say that let us be civil and let us be as gentle as possible, but we shall be as firm as necessary.
The Harney County Sheriff released a statement saying that the group claims to support local ranchers when in reality their motive is to overthrow the local and federal government.
This belongs to the people of the state.
Now, the FBI says that it's monitoring the situation closely. We've brought in some outside opinion on this. Dr. Danny Davis is with the Texas A&M Bush School of Government. You're an expert on terrorism. You're an expert on homeland security. So my first question is, when you hear these stories and what this group's doing, are they terrorists? Do we call them that?
Well, they're lawless, that's for sure. From their standpoint, they don't recognize the federal government, so they think federal law is non-existent. Their whole deal is over the grazing rights. I mean, it goes back all the way to after the Mexican War, when the federal government assumed jurisdiction over a lot of those lands, and these folks they've decided that enough is enough, and they're going to, as you said a while ago, they're going to stay as long as it takes.
The breakdown that you gave me right before the show went on, you said, and I thought this was fascinating, you said that they will look at the county sheriff as somebody that's legit. They will look at their local police department as legit. But when it comes to federal government, and that's the issue here, because that's who's sending, we're talking about federal land, and then there was a federal judge that sent these back to prison. That's what they have a problem with. They don't believe in the federal government.
No, they don't recognize it. To them, the county sheriff is the primary authority. As I told you before, one of the things about these folks, there's so many different variances of what they believe and what they think. Some would recognize the state government, some would not. Others would just the county government. Some don't recognize any at all. There's a movement called the Sovereign Citizens. I'm not sure that these people are part of that, because I haven't seen in the protests and whatnot, I haven't seen the different signs, the flags and such that they sometimes use.
So when the story started circulating on social media over the weekend, and this has been a big talker throughout the day for a lot of folks, one of the things that I keep seeing brought up in the comment section on these stories is, would the federal government, because so far it seems like the federal government's just kind of laying back and saying, we're going to see how this thing plays out, we don't want any blood on our hands here. Would the federal government have had the same reaction if these were not white men? If these were Muslim men, or men from Mexico, or even black men, would the federal government be carrying this out and executing their response to this the same way. What are your thoughts on that?
I think they would. If you go back to the 90s with the Branch Davidian and that fiasco that turned into, there was federal response there. If you look at the Black Lives Matter in Ferguson, Missouri here recently, the authorities are they've slowed down in their, for lack of a better word, their aggressive stance toward such movements, I think.
Because of lessons learned?
I think lessons learned, I think social media, I think...
Because there's the eyeballs on this situation 24 hours now.
Yeah, anybody can take a video of something that's happened.
What do you think? Let's talk about the media, because the other criticism part of this is how the media is portraying this group. ABC News, CNN, they've all been criticized because they were simply called peaceful protesters or armed men. And we've seen people respond and say, how can you just call them that? These are men with guns who stormed into a federal building. They are terrorists, and you, the media, should be treating them as terrorists. Your thoughts on that?
Well, they haven't harmed anybody yet. I think the word is lawless.
Okay.
That's the word that I would use at this point in time. I don't know that they've caused any damage. They've certainly occupied a federal building out in the middle of nowhere, 30, as Bundy said, 30 miles from the nearest town. And so that's probably one of the reasons that, the media and the authorities are being a little slow on this.
We were even debating that here in the newsroom on whether or not is this really a peaceful protest, and I guess it depends on your version of what peaceful is, because they really haven't harmed anybody. We don't know what kind of damage they've done to the building, so I don't know. Dr. Davis, any final thoughts? We've got to wrap it up here, but any final thoughts on the situation, or how do you think that all this is going to end and play out?
I tend to think that they'll let the legal system play it out. A lot of it's over grazing rights. The county and the father and the son that are headed to jail, they've all said this
They're
protest
complying.
has nothing. Yeah,
The-
this
the-
has
the
nothing
ones
to
at the
do with
center
us.
of all this
Yeah,
complying.
so.
It'll be interesting to see. We're going to continue our coverage of this coming up after the break. Kathleen's talking to a law enforcement expert on what kind of criminal charges that this group could be facing, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Dr. Davis, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
It's always good to see you, my friend, and we'll be back right after this.
Welcome back to First News at 4, where we're still talking about what's happening up in Oregon. A group of armed protesters has taken over a few federal buildings, and they're doing it to dispute sending a couple of their neighbors back to jail for some arson arrests from earlier in the 2000s. Here to comment on what's going on is a law enforcement specialist from Tarleton State University in Fort Worth. We have Dr. G.M. Cox here with us. Dr. Cox, thank you so much for joining us to shed a little light on what exactly law enforcement can do in this situation. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, Kathleen. Number of things they can do. Number one, obviously, life trumps property. So I believe that your responding officers and entities such as the FBI, state police, and local authorities are going to try to negotiate their way out of that. They don't want another Ruby Ridge. They don't want another Mount Carmel. So I think what you're going to see is a very protracted, measured response to this occupation.
Interesting. And who exactly can come in and do this? So this is a national wildlife preserve. So who is going to be responsible for taking care of this in terms of law enforcement?
That's a great question. It's typically, since it is a national wildlife preserve, obviously the federal government has jurisdiction. But at the same time, they share jurisdiction with the state, and then the local authorities have, as you know, a great deal of interest in the outcome because it's their citizens involved. So I think you're going to see a partnership of those individuals and entities trying to work together to resolve the issue.
In terms of keeping it peaceful and making sure that it doesn't turn out like some of those situations that we've seen go so poorly in the past, you talk about a measured response. Can we get more specific about how long of a timeline we're looking at, or what exactly they can do to keep the peace, because these are armed protesters?
They are armed, but they have made a statement. The Bundys made a statement they have no interest in hurting anyone. Of course, it's always interesting that someone says that at the same time while holding a weapon. They must understand that the federal government, the local police, and the state cannot allow an occupation to occur on property. Otherwise, you're just inviting it to happen more often. So I think when I see by measure, they're going to try to make contact, they're going to negotiate, they're going to try to find common ground. And if they can't find common ground, I'm sure those authorities are trying to figure out a way to interrupt their water sources, to try to make them want to come out rather than having to go in there and get them. It's a lose-lose situation if the federal authorities or armed authorities, whether it be local, state, or federal, have to go in there and confront them with weapons. They are Americans, and these people are trying to address it in a way that there's no loss of life or serious injury.
Absolutely. But it is so interesting because these protesters have come out and said, hey, we're prepared to stay here for years. So I'm curious to see what exactly law enforcement, what exactly the federal government can offer them to make them change their minds on this. Once they get them out, assuming they do eventually or whatever happens, what can these protesters be charged with? What legal action can be taken against them once this is over?
Well, that's a great question. I think you're going to have to find out through the federal law. There's clearly offenses of occupying federal law without permission. In state law, we would typically call that criminal trespass. There's other offenses that could occur. For instance, assault or threat, whether it be terroristic threat. And I don't want to make that confused with terrorism. Terroristic threat is just making a threat toward another person that they take seriously as an intent to harm others. So I think it could go from criminal trespass, it could go to burglary. Typically, the definition of burglary is breaking and entering with the intent to commit a felony once inside. Mm-hmm. And it's clearly what they're doing is definitely felony level if they, in fact, ever point a weapon at anybody or someone has to come in there and use force to get them out.
A lot of interesting things to look at here. A lot of eyes on Oregon, too, to see what happens. Dr. G.M. Cox, thank you so much for being here with us and helping us make a little bit of sense of what's happening.